Hold on, let me move this computer. I don't know if that's better. If you're having trouble with the sound, there is a link for the live stream, and you can watch it there if you like. I don't know if it's any better, if it's still distorted, so I need for you to let me know. We did move the computer closer. Let me know, because I need to move on. Is the sound any better? She says better. Okay. All right, well, I'm going to move on. I'm going to try to take it slow so that you all can at least understand what I'm saying. So that introduction that I gave, from Hebrews 11, and Hebrews 11 is known as the Hall of Faith. It lists the faith of past believers who believed that during life, God's promises were active and would remain active until he comes back. You see, they understood also that there was a Messiah who was going to come again to deliver his people. So ultimately, what the chapter really says is that they believed in the return of the Messiah, even though he had not returned. And they trusted God, even though they did not see his return. They believed God for their very lives. And their faith led to a personal, dynamic relationship with him. And so it's the same for us. The more faith that we have, our faith ought to lead to a personal, dynamic relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ. The clause, faith is the substance of things hoped for, describes a conviction that already takes custody of us right now. It's what we hope for, this conviction that we have deep down on the inside. We have a confident expectation of the outcome of whatever it is we're going through, just like these people who are listed in this chapter. We have a confident expectation because we know who God is, just like they knew who God was during that time. They knew what God had promised them in the future, just like we know what God has promised in our future. This present day ownership of things hoped for and promised in the future is an inner reality that we can hold on to. So we can hold on to some things about God, but we have to own it. So what we believe on the inside makes a difference in how we respond on the outside. Right now, amid a global pandemic and financial crisis and social unrest, as our world, and maybe your world, seems to be falling apart maybe not completely, but maybe in some places, we can stand on that firm foundation, the solid rock who will always be there, no matter whether the mountains fall down around us, no matter whether the seas overtake us. We have a God who will always stand firm. His promises are unshakable. His security is secure. He gives rest and joy and peace and provision, mercy, grace, and salvation. God himself and his word can be trusted. You see, we can have full confidence in the Lord's promises because they're real and a firm foundation for this life. So why give that ownership of what we already know or what you know on the inside to behave in a way that doesn't glorify God on the outside? I can't count how many times I've held it together when I have been accused of things. This is just me personally. Accused of things because of someone else's lack of integrity and their lack of self-esteem and lack of confidence. So many times, though, I didn't shut up. In defense of myself, I spoke. But then I started one day listening to the Lord and learned that there is strength in being quiet. There is strength in saying nothing and choosing the right time to speak. There's strength in choosing the right time to speak. I had to have faith during those times that God was working on my behalf, even when I could not see. You see, he's got that quiet voice. How many of you have ever heard the Lord speak? How many of you have ever heard that still small voice that tells you things like, leave now, or go here, or go there, or wait. Don't do that right now. Let that go. Or start this, or start that. He does those things. But a lot of times, we don't hear him. Because we're too busy getting our point across. Because that's how we are. But he does mysteriously communicate himself to us. But again, sometimes we're so busy being mad, or anxious, or argumentative, we can't hear him. We can't hear him. So faith, then, is the belief, and the substance is who we hold on to until we take our last breath, until we hold on to God from the time we accept him in faith and he saves us and he comes into our hearts, until for this entire life. For some of us out there, he's been speaking to us for a long time, trying to help us through tough times. But we continue on in a state of unrest with life. You see, faith ought to give us peace because we know that God will work it out in his strength and not ours. But we have to take ownership of the one in who we say we believe. We just have to believe. My second point, Faith does not always make sense. Don't you know it? Faith does not always make sense. Sometimes we know God's going to work it out. But we always think it's in a way that's rational to us. That we're always trying to trace God's hand the way that we think that it should go. And it doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes we have no clue what resolution looks like. Some of us are so busy, trying to figure out what God is going to do, only to find out that He's taking us down a completely different path. We become so busy trying to figure out our lives in our own strength, we don't even leave Him room to work. There's nothing wrong with using the mind God gave us to make decisions about the future. For example, if you have young children, some of you do, there's nothing wrong with, in faith, putting away some money for their education needs, or putting away money for their school clothes that you know they're going to need because you know they're going to grow. There's nothing wrong with that. But make a commitment and don't touch it. God gave us the intelligence to know something about the way the world works. Education is important right now. Someone was telling me the other day that employers are complaining because young people are barely literate coming out of school. Can you imagine? Can barely read and write and speak. In fact, seems like all they can do is Snapchat, TikTok, and Insta. I'm just saying. We had this young man who was hired by Parks at my job. And he didn't want to do the job he was hired for. Imagine that. He was just really lazy. And when asked to do something that was part of his job by his supervisor, he went and cussed the supervisor out. See ya. You go. And it's just not going to work. What do you think? And he was like 21 or 22, something like that. But ignorant. You're done. I didn't mean to digress, but God gave us the ability to have faith. Plug it in. Get these in juice. The people in Hebrews 11, if you read the chapter,